Welcome in. The Miami Dolphins are officially entering a new era. In this episode, we're going to break down what that really means. We are excited to be joined by official Miami Dolphins Drive Time podcast host Travis Wingfield, one of the few guys whose voices who got to sit down directly with new general manager John Sullivan and head coach Jeff Hafley, giving us the real insight into where this organization is headed. If you want to understand how the Dolphins are building for the future, this is where it starts. Let's dive into it. Sarni, I know this is an exciting one. We've been excited to have getting Travis on and big guests, and this is going to be fun.
Absolutely, we hooked the big one, and we're very appreciative that he's joining us. So let's bring him on up. Travis Wingfield of the Miami Dolphins.
Yes, of the Miami Dolphins officially. Let's bring him in. Travis, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you joining us. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Two things off the top here. Number one, Sarni, I feel like I have to address how many times it took you to actually get me on the show. We've been going back since October, and it's like, well, we're on a 3-game losing streak right now. Maybe we wait till some wins come, and then we got the winning streak, but it didn't work out. And then for whatever reason, like we lost the last couple of games of the year. So it just didn't work out. We finally got a chance to do this. If you hear my kids going crazy in the background, I do apologize for that. The second thing is, I want to know who is behind the production of the Open. My goodness, you're getting me fired up there a little bit of old school POD, and then the graphics. What's going on there, man? That's impressive.
All right, I appreciate it. A mix of people that, I had that song in my head as soon as I was going to make the intro, and you should see our draft one. We got a draft one too. The chat's loving you, Travis. They already shout out to Magic City, Lou, Jake, everybody in the chat. They're already loving you, Travis, and we appreciate again you coming on. So let's get it started. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the shout out, Travis, and you coming on. And me going for the extra yard is the metaphor here. Always going to fight to get you on here, but glad that you're joining us. And really, real quick, it's time to turn the page. But before we officially turn the page, what are your thoughts of what was the 2025 Miami Dolphins season?
Yeah, disappointing. I mean, I kind of held the fort on having expectations for this season, and a lot of that stemmed from the things I thought the Dolphins would carry over that were quality, right? And that was quarterback play, the passing game in general, the pass rush, and those things just weren't there this season. I mean, Tua's play was a far cry from what it was the previous 3 years, and I know people thought his 24 was a bit down. It was, but I didn't think it was like a bad quarterback season by any stretch of the imagination, and he just kind of lost the fastball there, as it were. And then the pass rush off the edge, I can't tell you how many games the Dolphins just couldn't close out. I mean, you guys saw it, so but they couldn't close out games. It changed the way that I think Weaver called the defense because of their inability to get pressure with 4. And the things that they did well were the things that I thought were going to be improvements with being better in the line of scrimmage play. I mean, it took some time, and they still have some work to go there with some of the young players in the rookie class, and I think they'll get there. But some of the stuff that got me excited about the way they approached the offseason showed up, but all the things that we kind of banked on and counted on regress in a big way. And so the 7 wins to me was below expectation. Obviously, sweeping changes came across the organization, starting too slow once again. So I had expectations, man. I thought that was a playoff team going into the year, and I think if they would have got the same quarterback play of the previous 3 years, it would have been again.
Yeah, I want to quickly, we want to get into the new era. We want to get to Sullivan and Hafley. Quickly, we wish Mike the best. Mike with the Chargers. 100%. I actually loved his interview. He did. Just your time with Mike. How would you sum it up quickly? Of course, wishing him the best going forward.
I would say with Mike, you always kind of had to be on your toes for keeping up with where his brain was going. Does that make sense? Like, I always felt like I couldn't quite get there with him because he was multiple steps ahead in terms of the joke or the banter or the reference or whatever it might have been. And, he was always so busy and just so tuned into like game playing that you get these brief moments with him. And I was just like, you know what, just keep your head down and keep walking because you're not going to match wits with this guy. He's going to make you look stupid. So I tried to just kind of stay to myself in that regard. But, I think some of those things I talked about in terms of the season going the way it did, it was kind of the same thing with him in the program, right? I mean, that Steelers game is the one that I think everyone's going to remember because it was the culmination of the issues you had for the last 4 years, whether it was on the road, inclement weather, a primetime spot, and you just didn't show up, and the operational stuff. Like it just was too much of the same for me. for 4 years. So I really fun start to that era. I think to me that the two most fun years of this century, going back to the playoff win as a Dolphins fan, but kind of back to where you started before that with how it went the last couple of years.
Yeah, we wish him the best.
Real quick, little tiny thread I want to pull on. I really would love to hear your perspective about some of those things that just Mike didn't necessarily correct. Was the third quarter. To me, I know you're a multiple sport guy. You love a reference from another sport. I would always say it's like a basketball team not being able to come out of halftime into the third quarter in those first 4 or 5 minutes and either keep the pressure on or to fix what wasn't working. So what are your thoughts about the whole third quarter in general, and how bad was that of an aspect of why he's not here?
I love the hoops reference because it's almost like in basketball, you're a little more in tune to like go into the locker room and say, hey, we're going to full court press because we got to figure something out that's different, right? Like we're going to really turn the screws up. And I thought that was where the Dolphins struggled to match their opposition. And to your point, I mean, the point differential, yard differential, I mean, the proof was in the pudding there with what it was. I just thought that was kind of indicative to the lack of adjustment of the more macro things I just talked about, right? Like it was consistent. If nothing else, it was consistent, right? Whether that was good or whether that was bad. And I just thought the inability to kind of, even when Quinn Ewers came into the lineup, the first 15 plays of the game, the offense looked great. And then by the time you got the opening script and there was more adjustments being made and the defense said, okay, we're doing more of this. It looks like we're going to go ahead and throw this. It always felt like Miami was either didn't have the answer or was slow to find the answer. And that kind of went back, previous to 2025. Like, I remember telling a buddy about he came out to like the Houston Texans game in like 22 or something like that. And it was like 30-0 at halftime. And the final score was like 33-15. So like, I remember that being a thing even back then when we were rolling teams. Right. And just the inability to kind of, put the foot on the throat, as it were, I thought was, again, a problem for 4 years.
Absolutely. And now we will, of course, turn the page officially. Great stuff with the Sully interview. You're one of the few people who really got a chance to dig in and figure out what his mindset is. What stood out to you? Any particular quotes that resonated mainly?
First of all, I know, like, if I talk about this, I get labeled a propagandist and a homer and all that stuff. But I'm really on board with Sully right now, man. He talks the talk, he walks the walk. A fun little like inside baseball story for you before I give you the quote that I liked the most. He was on his way out the building to the Senior Bowl the other night, and we kind of like we crossed paths, and I was like, "You heading somewhere?" He's like, "Oh yeah, heading." Or I didn't say that. I'm like, "All right, well, fly safe," whatever. And he's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, Senior Bowl. That's where I kind of forgot where he might be going. And he like stopped and came back and like explained himself to me. And I was like, just that little interaction there of like taking the time to talk to me. And, he talked about how the love was going to bounce off the walls of the building. We're going to be tough, but we're going to do it in a loving way and make sure we get to know you guys and really find out how to push you, through love. And that kind of resonated to me in that moment with him. And I've got a few of those already under my belt in the couple of weeks he's been here. And then I would say the best quote, I think, was, talking about drafting and developing your own, right? Not having a team full of mercenaries. It's my opinion that's where the Dolphins build kind of went south a little bit, was being a little bit too aggressive in the veteran market and, trading draft picks for the right to pay guys top of the market contracts and not getting longevity out of that. And then you do that, you sacrifice a couple draft classes where you don't get much out of them. And that's how you kind of, reset the roster into where we are right now. So I think that's what this team needs. I think it's in a healthy position to, get there in a couple of years maybe. But I think that he's got the right mindset for what Miami needs to finally obtain what Stephen Ross has been saying for years, sustained success, right? They want to be a team that's here regularly in the playoffs every year. And that's really tough to do, man. Like only a few teams do that every single year. You see these programs come and kind of fade back out. If he can do that here, man, they're going to build a statue of him because Dolphins fans, as you guys know, are thirsty for a winner, especially in January.
Yeah, you talk about some of the quotes. Look, I'm bought in. I was sold, and this felt different to me, Travis. Just some of the things he said. Like some of the quotes were my favorite was "Fast gets slow, but big doesn't get small." Wait, you talked about all the things you brought up. Great questions, by the way. What really stood out? What he said, like, as far as, man, this is different. This is where I feel this time this might work.
Well, yeah, first off, thank you. Yeah, those interviews are, I go over those a lot. I put a lot of time into those and try to find questions that I don't think they'll get asked in other places that can, elevate the way fans see, our people. And with him, repeat the question again. I'm sorry, I got lost in my own sauce there.
No, just when did you realize during the interview, like, okay, I'm in. This is different. This time it might actually work, right?
Yeah, I'm curious if you guys felt this, because after the interview, I was telling people like, man, I just was so impressed. And I was like, if you just sat me in that chair and didn't tell me who that was, I would have known he was a football guy right away, obviously, but I wouldn't have been able to tell if he was personnel or coaching. I really felt that he has a good grasp on the entire operation of an NFL organization, where he can, be aligned with coaches, and he can work in personnel, and he can work with pro scouts and college scouts, and maybe even talk to players. Remember the famous Moneyball quote about, like, is Jeremy Giambi or someone being like, man, or no, it was a David Justice character to Brad Pitt. Like, I've never seen a GM talk to players like this. I could see him being that type of hands-on GM where he does have those engagements and interactions with players. So I just felt like he has a good grasp on, 22 years in Green Bay, man. He's seen an organization that, minus the hardware they probably would like to have with all the success they've had, who's been more consistent than the Green Bay Packers and doing it the right way, the draft develop way, and getting good quarterback play. So I think that his experience there really just gives him a good POV for what it's supposed to look like at every stage of the organization.
Yeah. What do you think we'll see? Green Bay had a type in the draft. What changes do you think we'll see in the draft? He talked about, one thing I loved, he talked about is multiples. Like, we got to be able to play, give our coaches the ability to play big in cold weather. He talked about we got to go through our division. It's cold weather. Do you see changes? Because I know Green Bay, like, they love speed on the interior defensive line. They like wide receivers that are big. What kind of change do you think we'll see differently in this draft and approach? Obviously, we don't know the strategy, but what do you anticipate?
Yeah, I was super curious to find out who was going to be the offensive coordinator and even, the head coach before Hafley got hired, because if you notice, a lot of the names they brought in for head coaching interviews had attachments to the Shanahan system, which most coaches do because it's the most in vogue type of system there is really in NFL history. And we got Bobby Slowick. So the same offensive system in principle should return. And that, man, the way they coach offensive linemen in this offense is so different than other offenses that don't, adopt the Shanahan system, as it were. And I'm excited about what that means for Patrick Paul and Aaron Brewer and the growth of those guys up front. So I think that's become almost a strength of the football team at this point. Defensively, it's kind of similar. It's a lot of vision on the quarterback zone. They'll get some fire zones in there, but not quite as much. I think Weave went more blitz because of the 4-man pass rush that he had this year, but it's not a lot of blitzing. It's a lot of disguise in the back end. Few defenses disguise more than Weave. None will disguise more than Jeff Hafley. And so I think it's very similar there. Where the big difference I do think you'll get is in the front, that like the way they stack their defensive line, particularly off the edge. They typically have a wide 9 alignment, which the Dolphins defense under Anthony Weaver didn't really use that very much. And for you that don't know, like, the football terms, that's like what Cam Wake was, like the wide split, getting that NASCAR, like, world class sprinter speed stance and fire off the football and cause havoc that way. And he can get to all those fronts in different ways with all the defenses that he's called. And I think his defensive menu is what you should be almost most excited about, on top of what Jeff Hafley brings from a leadership perspective. But to go back to the player type, I did a segment on the podcast, and I think it was on Dolphins HQ as well, where I went through the last 4 Packers draft classes. And it's like guys that have played 4 or 5 years of college football. They want experienced players. They were heavy into guys that didn't transfer, commitment, draft, develop your own, kind of adopt that mindset, and tough, big players, right? Like Lucas Van Ness is a very big player. Jordan Morgan, the tackle that took a couple of years ago. Romeo Dobbs is a bigger receiver. Christian Watson. So he talked about getting bigger and tougher across the entire football team, and that includes the eligibles out wide. So I think that and then players that can play in the cold weather, man. I mean, I don't got to tell Dolphins fans about that. I can just leave it at that, because we've been needing that for some time. And I think they're going to really focus on guys that can be, competitive in the elements.
1,000% on that. And the toughness, I think, will shine through with how they build this roster. So you mentioned Hafley. Another reference to another sport, they got a battery. They got a pitcher to catcher battery that's common with each other in Sully and Hafley. I love the fact that they're coming together, because the Dolphins have not had 2 brand new people enter an organization at the same time. What better pairing than 2 people who have worked before with each other? So your thoughts on Hafley and how he is already building his staff, and what are your impressions of the new head coach?
Yeah, first off, I really take exception to the idea that he just hired his buddy, because I really don't. I get that it's easy to go in that direction, but they only have known each other for the last 2 years, right? And it's not like they both have been in football since 2000 or give or take, and they came across each other's paths and recognized like, hey, that guy knows what he's doing. Like to me, that's a good thing. I would want to empower myself with people around me. I made a point. I think this comes out in the podcast tomorrow. We have one of my best buddies is the director of our content video team, and he was a producer on my shows the first couple of years. And I said, if I went somewhere and they said, hey, you can bring a producer, I'm bringing my buddy Mike, because he's great. Like that's what I would want to bring someone that I know and how he works and how he's going to be locked in for me. As far as Jeff Hafley, that's kind of what I get. And I just posted a clip. I think it was on Instagram. I forget where I put it up. But we're going to have the Hafley interview out on Friday. And I sometimes I do this. It's not the most professional thing, but I'll try to like almost work into a question for a coach. Like, hey, I kind of know ball a little bit here, you know? And I did that with him and he called it out and he was like, giving me some love about how I watch tape and all this stuff. And that's why it says football guy on my title right here, because he's like, this is a football guy right here. And I don't know if he was schmoozing me. I don't think he was, because he didn't have to do this. He kind of extended the interview by doing this. I just feel like he knows how to connect with people, even the podcaster, you know? And he made me feel special. He made me feel good. And I could, that the talk about, you know, pouring into guys and getting to know their families and loving them. And then, you know, making that be the basis of how you can coach and your foundation of your program. I felt that. I really felt that. I think that Miami has needed that for a long, long time, man. We've been on this kick of like, you know, offensive mastermind. And I think Flo is more of a disciplinarian rather than like a, you know, bring the whole program together type of coach. Obviously Gaze before that. And then with Joe Philbin, I'm not really sure what he did, quite frankly. I think Tony Sproul was the last one that kind of was one of those guys that kind of had that, like, I mean, I want to go to war for that guy, you know? I think that that's what Jeff Hafley will bring through his approach. And I think it's genuine. I mean, it's too early to say. And we, you know, so many things can happen from now into the next 4 years. I was excited about Mike McDaniel for a lot of ways, right? For a lot of reasons. But I think Jeff Hafley's passionate approach and player, like the way he wants to pour into players, I think that's genuine. And I think it's what the Dolphins need.
Yeah.
So if there was a calling card, sorry, George, real quick, if there was a calling card defensive scheme that we should expect from Hafley, obviously Flores had, you know, the cover zero, you know, Weaver was a front line, front seven kind of guy. What are we going to look for Hafley's signature?
Yeah, different ways to get to different quarters presentations. So whether it's cover 4, cover 2, cover 6, it's variations of having, you know, 2 or 3 high up in the, you know, the top, the roof of the defense. And watching the Packers on tape this year, man, that's kind of why I got so nerded out with him in the interview. Cause I'm like, I watched your tape, the third down reel, and I have no idea what's coming next, because you're going to invert the slot cornerback and you're going to rotate the safety down and you're going to overload a pressure on this side and you're going to blitz the opposite side and have those 2 guys back out. It's just like, good luck, man. Like I think young quarterbacks are going to really struggle against this Dolphins defense when they get playing on a string together. And we'll see, man. Cause like going over the numbers, I thought like, oh, with Micah Parsons, they probably blitz less this year. They blitz more with Micah Parsons. So I think putting him in a box and pigeonholing what he's going to do with his personnel would be naive, but the different variations of zone you're going to get in the back end to potentially confuse opposing quarterbacks is going to be his calling card.
Yeah, I agree, because I looked at it. They don't traditionally blitz a lot. He's that one gap penetration. A lot of that you said cover one. He disguises his coverage so well. I love watching tape like you. Like he you know, they had ran more cover 2. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the numbers from when he got there, and it was just when he got in the Packers in 23, they went from 30th in cover 0 to 17th. They went from 25th in cover 2 usage. And then the first year he got there, they went to 5th. So in simulated pressure rates, he blitzed on later downs. I'm excited about Chop Robinson with this guy, right? Like, does that get you excited, Travis, as somebody who watches a lot of film, what he could do in that wide 9 with Chop Robinson?
That's the thought with him, right? And it's go time for Chop. I thought this year was, you know, talk about disappointments. I thought he was kind of one of the forefronts in terms of guys that didn't play like the way I thought they would this year. He was, man, back in training camp, Chop was on a tear and he was getting after people. And I remember when he got hurt in Detroit, the Dolphins fans were like, man, the year's over because there's our best pass rusher going down. And it didn't work out that way. But I do think it's in there. I think it's in there with Chop. That first step explosiveness is something that he's always going to have. And if he can develop a counter move, that's kind of where I look forward to him kind of having an impact. Because if he can counter move back inside with the way Zach Sealer sets all those pick stunts and stuff that he runs from the pass rush game perspective, I think it can kind of unlock a little bit what Chop can do there. But got to get some more juice off the other edge as well. So that's going to be a position they're going to have to invest in the next couple of years here, is that pass rush.
Right, and we had a question in the chat about Bobby Slowick, the new offensive coordinator. Bobby was in the building last year. And again, I thought you mentioned, he's getting too much slack for hiring his buddy. I agree with you. This is also Sullivan's. His job is on the line. This is his one shot. You don't know if you get another one. You go with the best guy. And I thought, he mentioned, it was reported that it was going to be him or the Packers, Stoyanovich, the other guy. And he went with the guy he thought was best for the job. What do you know, getting to know Bobby Slowick in the building for a year? And also good news for guys like Brewer and A-Chain, because Brewer's a guy, I was worried if they change systems a little bit, but they're going to keep that Kyle Shanahan West Coast kind of thing, Travis.
Yeah, he's sharp, man. He's sharp. He has that pass game coordinator background. The part that I'm really curious is to see how much he really picked up from Mike McDaniel's run scheme, because for Mike's flaws and Mike's great things he did, the one thing that I thought Mike was really good at was devising good run game plans when he would really pour into it and commit to it. And I had my own misgivings about situational calls and going away from what works, but on the surface, the run game design was always really creative. And I'm curious how much of that Bobby will pick up, because that was kind of one of the knocks in Houston, was the run game couldn't really get established alongside what they had going with the passing game with CJ Stroud. And then that relationship too is kind of a fascinating one to me too, because CJ was so damn good as a rookie, and then it never was that good again. And it's kind of tapered off each year since then. And I think Bobby was kind of the scapegoat for that in Houston with the way the passing game struggled, 2 years ago. But I think that, he was brought here for a reason. He's a trusted mind in this, from this tree within the system to kind of help their spacing concepts in the passing game, or I guess I should say their spacing within the concepts of the passing game. And I keep going back to what Jeff Hafley said on, I think it was the Rich Eisen show, when he talked about finding that level to stress the second and third level between the linebackers and the safeties, because that's where he feels it's toughest to defend when he's trying to draw up schemes. And that's where you get your explosives, man. You can hit that area of the passing game and really put those linebackers on a 12-yard kind of, a track where they have to cover the run and the pass going backwards. You get your run game going with that. That's where you can really become dangerous in the play pass game. So I think that's kind of the area they want to recapture, right? The intermediate passing game was non-existent last year, man. They just didn't have that in the bag, and it made the offense kind of, one-dimensional and predictable that way. So trying to open up that area of the field again, I think is a big key.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the chat real quick. Cap Blue, everybody, Jacob, everybody in the chat, loving you, Travis. Make sure you guys, please, smack, like Lou said, smash that like button, hit that little subscribe. We appreciate it. Just takes 1 second to help support the channel, and the likes too. Thank you, guys. We got Travis Wingfield, official Miami Dolphins, and the Drive Time podcast host, who does a fantastic job. He's got the interview with Jeff Hafley. I saw the teaser. I'm excited. Can you give us a little more teaser? You can, Travis. You're gonna we're gonna be impressed with Hafley tomorrow when it drops, right? I will say this about him. People didn't know about him, and Jason and I would have shows, and I would say the one thing we need as a head coach is an alpha and a guy who has presence. And I felt his presence in his press conference. And did you feel that same presence in your one-on-one?
Yeah, and a calming sense, right?
Yes.
I think that one of the things that we needed to find a way to get better at was just responding to adversity in general. I mean, that was kind of a credo of the last coaching staff here, and I thought it kind of came up short in ways. And going back to my buddy that I talked about in the video department, he was talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff with me, and just saying how comfortable Hafley felt throughout the entire thing. Like, there was no nerves about a press conference. Like, I know that the experience is not at the NFL as a head coach, but he does have 4 years of head coaching experience and kind of running a program. And I think that experience will pay, dividends for him in this role. But I think as far as the interview goes, I was really happy with it. But a lot of that was him, man. Like, sometimes your subject is the reason that an interview goes well. And he really just kind of, at one point I talked about the football guy thing. He turned it back on me, and he's like asking me about this. You're gonna see me blush so bad, man. Cause he was like, I think you should have been a coach. I think you missed your calling. And he's just like, he's saying all the things that I want to hear, as a person that fancies himself a little bit of a football savant. Yeah. And I just think that ability to connect with anybody is a big part of that. He talked about his his 4 core beliefs, belief being one of them, toughness, physicality, and now I'm forgetting the other one. Extreme accountability. He kind of covered where those 4 things came from, talked about the scheme, talked about Slowick a little bit. Just a little bit of everything, man. It was kind of about the program, the schematics he wants to run, and how he's going to be as a leader. And I think Dolphins fans are going to really resonate with the things he says.
So let's take a little bit of an outlook real quick. I know we got a couple minutes left. We got to get you out at 8:30, and we're going to keep you to that. But outlook for the Dolphins free agency. What kind of targets are you expecting to kind of kick the tires on?
Yeah, well, I'll probably take solely at his word, right, and kind of talk about being a little more conservative with where we are right now because of some of the situations you gotta hash out with players that are maybe not going to be here, or maybe you have to rework their contracts in terms of where we are with the dead cap situation. So I don't think it would be very active. And this is before we hired Green Bay guys, but man, I was after watching that Ravens and Bears game late in the year, I was a big Malik Willis fan coming out of Liberty, man. I thought he had all the physical traits in the world, and to see where he came in those 2 starts and the 2 starts last year, I wound up firing up all those games on tape immediately after that because I knew we were probably in the market for a quarterback, and I was like, that looks different. And watching those tapes, like, I am convinced this guy is going to be a start, his next stop, and I hope we can make it happen here, but I don't know if it will or not. So he's my top guy there. There's obviously guys, all over every position. Quay Walker has that Packers connection as well. You look on the offensive line, always a good place to look. The receiver market, to me, is not really for me. It's typically a place where you overpay a little bit for guys that I don't think are, top of the game. So I kind of try to avoid that area. The tackle position is kind of that same way as well. So probably a frugal approach this year, maybe some mid-market and low-level guys, and really focus on this draft class, which I'm also diving into with the Senior Bowl wrapping up here pretty soon.
Yeah. Music to our ears. And you mentioned Malik Willis. We just had an episode. We had a Packers insider, a beat writer on, and he predicts Malik will come in. And I'm like you, Travis, huge fan. I had to hear a lot of criticism the last few years, but finally the Malik Willis stuff is the arm, the dynamic playmaking ability to dual threat. It's something we haven't had here. I'm excited, but I wanted to talk about the quarterback position because you mentioned Tua last year struggled, but the one great thing they said in their press conferences, and one thing I think is they're looking at every avenue and maybe even draft a quarterback every year. What's your thoughts on Quinn Ewers and your expectation for that position? You said Malik Willis, but any guy, and you're going to dive into the draft, anybody in particular in the draft that you like so far, or how do you think they'll draft? You think there'll be a free agency, a draft? Just talk a little bit about the quarterback position, because that's pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one quarterback class to me, man. And I wanted to get there with so many guys throughout the process. And a lot of the guys that I did, find something that I was a fan of, wound up going back to school. I am a really big Brendan Sorsby fan from Cincinnati, and he wound up going back. I think he went to Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken. College football sucks, man. I hate it now. I hate what it's become. And so I don't know where anybody went anymore. That's a different podcast though. But John Mateer was a guy, obviously go Cougs, Washington State guy that went to Oklahoma. The minute I started kind of talking about him, he broke his wrist and fell off the face of the earth in terms of production. Lenoris Sellers was kind of a high upside guy that didn't really click. I don't think he really won from the pocket at all this year. I wish he would have transferred to a school that could have given a better supporting cast, but he's going to be back at South Carolina. And then Ty Simpson was a guy that I kind of got there on for a couple of weeks. Then the minute I start watching him, he goes backwards and gets himself benched in the Rose Bowl. So I think he's probably quarterback too. Like even Dante Moore, I thought was like,
I wasn't in on it. I wasn't in on it either.
He'd be a first round pick, but I wouldn't feel great about staking the entire franchise on what I saw on tape this year. So after that, it's kind of like, are there some guys you want to maybe take a flyer on? Because that's kind of what it looks like to me. I know people are kind of gassing up Taylon Green right now, the Arkansas kid, because he's big and fast. And I trust me, I get that. I get the ball of clay.
I'm a fan, Travis. I must admit.
We gotta play quarterback.
Now George is blushing on that.
No, Travis. My thing is, it's a lotto ticket, and I'm talking mid rounds. But I just think we need to take a shot at those kind of guys. But go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, but
they probably will. I mean, he talked about it, right? Every year or every other year. I think this is a good year to kind of to be in that lotto ticket range, unless you can wind up with Diego Pavia is 5'9", guys. That's it. Unless you're Kyler Murray athletically, I've got no interest in under 6 foot.
He's something else.
He's also a dickhead too. So sorry if this is a family-friendly show.
Far from it, Mr.
I don't really fuck with that, man. The way he imported himself with the Heisman Trophy. Maybe I'm talking out of school. Maybe he winds up a Dolphin, but I didn't like it. But no. So it's a rough year for it. I like the idea. maybe late day 2, sometime on day 3, going after, to your point, one of those lotto tickets. But Quinn Ewers was a guy that I thought coming out last year of Texas was not polished enough to play on time in the NFL, especially in the Dolphins offense. And he looked a lot better than I thought he ever did at Texas. So maybe he's kind of that bite at the apple right there. You bring in Cam Miller, obviously from the Raiders. I know that they were excited about getting him in. And that was that Sully wasn't here quite yet when that happened. So I don't know how they feel about him in that regard, but look at those guys probably competing for some reps and spring ball, and we'll see what happens. They got to bring somebody else in. So I don't know when that'll be in the draft, free agency, but there'll be at least one new quarterback in Miami this year.
You mentioned, go ahead, Jason.
No, real quick, you mentioned the under 6 foot quarterback. So let's forget under 6 feet and let's go over 6'2" wide receiver in this draft. I think if you're looking second round, third round, there's like 5 or 6 guys that could be right for the picking for the Dolphins. So are there any big body, tall, pure X receivers that you're looking for college wise?
Yeah, I love the question because I got my Senior Bowl notes up right here, and I wrote here like I'm kind of trying to train myself this year because I have been in that honeypot of fast, small receivers, and I've been on that train for a little bit now. I do like Jeremy Bernard from Alabama. I don't know if he hits the 6'2" threshold. He might be right there, but he's a great blocker. He's a good run after catch guy. Got some vertical speed as well. I'm a huge fan of him on day 2. I think Malachi Fields at Notre Dame is a guy that everyone's kind of jumping on that train right now. 6'4", 218 pounds, 32.5-inch arms.
Touchdown machine.
He's awesome. But then Sarni, I go back and I watch some of the one-on-one reps with some of the routes on air, and I'm like, that's the freaking Titanic trying to turn a corner right there. I don't love it. Like I need guys to snap those routes off. So another guy at the Senior Bowl I thought was good today was Vinny Anthony from Wisconsin. He's kind of had some Chris Chambers to him, if you will. The uniform and the play
perfect out there.
Reggie Virgil at Texas Tech was a 6'2", 185-pound guy, soaking wet, very thin build, but he was really getting on top of guys in the Senior Bowl today. So to your point, there are some options here, and I'll get some more as we go along in the process. But man, it's I'm kind of having to learn the position over again because it's small guys, man. Small speed guys are my thing there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, good compliment. We got the speed guys and, Waddle and Malik, and compliment with a big 6'3" or 6'4" in the back of the end zone.
We do need it. Jermon Bushrod, I do post-game radio with Jermon Bushrod, and he's telling me about he played for the Bears when they had Brandon Marshall, now Sean Jeffrey, and Martellus Bennett. He played for the Saints when they had Jimmy Grant and Marcus Colson, eventually Michael Thomas. And he's like, you need big body receivers. In the beginning of the year, I'm like, no, you don't. And then by the end of the year, I'm like, yeah, you do. All right, Jermon, yeah, you're right. You win this one, buddy.
We have a question. Hey, Travis, do you see some Devontae Parker and Malachi Fields?
I hope not. I never got it with Parker, man. I mean, the guy was bottom of the league in separation every single year, and that's you're talking about like speed receivers. You got to get open. I don't care how big you are. You got to get open. That's my only
question with him is the separation. Like you said, when he snaps at the end of the route, is it there? You got a nice catch with Taylor Green. I'll let you go, sorry, but I want to tell you, Ted Hurst looks like a Green Bay receiver. I'll tell you about Hurst. He's somebody I was watching because I don't know if you know, we do draft stuff here. I do 150 scouting reports on guys, and we do big draft stuff here with Jason. We love it. All 3 of our faces turned red when we started talking about draft. It was like we're home. But like Ted Hurst is a guy, small school, great size, and he's just I know. Forget about the one-handed catch. This is a guy who looks like a Packers type receiver. I'm telling you, that's a 3rd, 4th round pick to watch out for the Dolphins. But yeah, they're loaded. This draft, Brazel from Tennessee. There's a bunch. Go ahead, Jason.
No, you basically you hit the wide receivers up. I think this is probably going to be a defensive-minded first round, and that's fine by me, whether it's an edge, cornerback. Is there, a certain type of look of a defensive player, a pure pass rusher, a run-stopping, edge-setting? I mean, what are your thoughts there on a prototypical first-round draft pick defensively?
I think that's astute in terms of where they might end up going, because if Ruben Bain makes it there, I just think he's awesome. I know that the length limitations and people don't like the get off, but I saw him blow by tackles the entire playoffs. I don't understand that knock so much. I just think there's a relentless passion and like a desire to hurt quarterbacks, which I like about his game a lot. I don't think he'll make it to us, quite frankly. Caleb Downs, I think you're going to get a bunch of stuff about positional value. I don't give a damn about that. I think he has the Kyle Hamilton chops you need to really offset what the NFL's become, which is this, throw from running personnel and run from passing personnel. And you need guys like Devin Witherspoon and Nicky Manworthy in Seattle to match that and counter that. So I think that his prospects at number 11, if he's there, would be awesome. Sonny Styles from Ohio State, man. I would be stunned if there's not if they don't give Jordan Brooks a really good running mate here soon, whether it's this year or next. I thought it was a big issue this year alongside him at that linebacker spot. And I think that Sonny Styles would sure that up right away. They were in Andre Greenlaw last year. I know it's a different coaching staff and everything, but to put a quality number 2 linebacker, that's kind of where, all these great defenses over the years, like the Niners defenses with Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, and eventually Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw himself. Like all these great defenses have had 2 good linebackers. So I would look at that position as a possibility. Also, Josiah Trotter. I know Kyle Krabs is a big fan of his. He's a possible round 2 guy. I did watch the safeties today. So Caleb Downs, I'm a huge fan at number 11. That Toledo kid, McNeil Warren, my goodness. He's got some E-man worry to him. So I think that he could be one of those guys. I also thought Kamari Ramsey from USC had some of that flash as well. So there's some options there, man. It's a good defensive class with some depth, and you could find a way to, you got to find these smart players, man. You got to be smart to play on this defense. If we can find guys that are smart, like Caleb Downs, and have physical tools like Caleb Downs, like race the card up there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the defensive side.
Yeah. Quickly here, we talk about edge rushers. He needs a mate, but like everybody talks about, how about that Texas Tech defensive line? Like Lee Hunter couldn't be blocked. Yeah, man. But I'm going to tell you, Romello Height is somebody I liked when I was watching David Bailey film, and he kept popping on the other side, and he's killing it at the Senior Bowl. First step quickness, legitimate pass rushing ability. I mean, he's somebody to keep an eye. I don't know if they go that direction because he's a little slimmer to chop, but that Texas Tech defensive line was unbelievable. I mean, so yeah. All right, so we'll get you out of here in a second. I know you got to get going. We kept you on a little longer.
You're good, no worries.
But, you watch, a lot of Dolphin fans seem to have new optimism. And from someone who's in the building, I think it's good to hear from. What is your message to Dolphin fans right now? Why should they be excited?
I just think there's a new way of doing things and a refresh way of doing things with the alignment. Like that was something we kind of talked about a little bit back in one of the earlier questions about, hiring a guy that he knew. Like this was the first time they've had a direct alignment since, Starney helped me out. Was it the Sperano years? It had to have been that long ago, right?
Yeah.
Parcells. Probably
a whole battery coming on and together pretty much. Yeah.
Correct. I said either they're going to sink or they're going to swim together. And I like that.
Yeah, Krabs covered this on one of his shows a while back about, Pete Carroll coming in with Spy Tech and how Carroll's 74 years old and Spy Tech is a young GM. It's like, you're not, Ashton Genty was like a win now pick, right? And that's not probably what Spy Tech wanted to do because he had more runway. And Pete Carroll's like, I'm 74. I got to win games now. So I think that when you get on the same page, like, look, man, this is a league of egos. These are guys that are at the top of their profession and they've worked their asses off to get in those positions and they've earned those egos. And when you get egos involved, sometimes it can create, a little bit of abrasion when it comes to who's in. Look at the Bills right now with the Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane situation and the Keon Coleman thing. Like, you can't have that. And so I think that with Sully and with Half, they're going to be completely aligned. And if they disagree, they're going to find a way to get the best, compromise out of what they're going for. And I think his message that everything they're going to do is going to be in the best interest of the Miami Dolphins and not be agenda based. I do believe in it. And maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I believe in it. And I think Dolphins fans should too.
Hey, if you're drinking it, I'm drinking it. And I was objective.
Pass the pitcher.
I'm objective, but they won the first press conference. But
for sure,
Travis, these are football guys, football guys, and look, yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Jason and I are going to go over a few hires that were made, and we're going to go over that. Travis, we appreciate it. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Let everybody know what you got going on the Drive Time podcast. Promote everything. Where to find you? Where to find the podcast? Yeah.
Appreciate you guys and love the setup. Love the graphics and the presentation and the questions. Really good job here, guys. I'm a really good show here. Where you can find me, Drive Time Podcast. Obviously, we're going to be ramping up around the combine. I'm about to get into my off-season capsules right now, so I'm going over all the tape of my favorite free agents, my favorite draft prospects, where the Dolphins stand at each position. So look out for those. Dolphins HQ is bi-weekly in the offseason on the Dolphins YouTube channel, also here on local CBS Miami, and of course, Jeff Hafley on the show on Friday. So plenty coming this offseason, man. Like, the nice part about all these changes is the content is really easy to get to. It's not so much reaching for things like it has been in years past.
Yeah, and fans find they have a new, we call it hopium. And the people we do the show, let's be honest, it's been a rough, few years, but there's some new optimism in the building, and we appreciate you sharing that. And it kind of radiates from you. I can see it on your face, you talking about these guys, and it's genuine. And we appreciate you, Travis. We'll do it again sometime, right, Jason? We'll get you on, and I appreciate the kind words that you said for all the graphics and all that stuff. It means a lot. I just want to say, Travis is somebody who made me get into this, watching throughout his career, and the work. I told you backstage. I want to reiterate for everybody here the detail you do in your work. When somebody like Jason and I who do this see that, we appreciate it, and it's well deserved. And congrats on all your success, Travis. And let's do it again.
Yeah, appreciate you, Travis. Thanks so much.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one. Enjoy your night.
Good night.
Well, that was Mr. Travis Wingfield.
Great stuff.
Great. I could go home happy now. He's like, great graphics, great show, great questions.
You can end the show right now.
Yeah, we can end the show right now.
You can take a month off.
Shout out. I'm going to get some questions to the chat because the chat was live. We got over 160 people. Guys, if you're watching it, make sure you're on YouTube. Please do us a favor, hit that like and hit that little bell. It takes a second to subscribe. It really helps us out and it means some. Also, flood the comments after the show on the video, what you liked. And what kind of, we have a poll running. Are you guys new Dolphins regime? Are you guys optimistic? Overwhelming, yes. So that's good. But let's get into some of the news, Sonny. Dolphins made some coaching hires. I think they did another one as a quality control coach. But and then I want to get into some more Senior Bowl guys. And so new hires, they had Zach Yenser, O-line coach, second season with the Texans as an offensive line coach. Prior to the Texans, he serves the offensive line coach for University of Kentucky. Yenser has 17 years of coaching experience, including first 4 years at the NFL level. He replaces Butch Berry, who went to the Chargers, right? Sonny, do you know anything about Yenser? What do you feel?
Yeah, no, he followed McDaniel, and Yenser's coming in with the Houston ties. So let's see what his mindset is. What I would actually love is to go a little bit, off of what the Dolphins have done the last several years and trying to kind of cross-train and convert.
Sure.
Get a purebred right tackle. Get a purebred right guard.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be something that I'm going to be curious about. I don't want to turn a guard into a center into a right tackle into a left guard. I want to get some guy who was born to play one of those 5 positions. Get him, draft him, develop him, and boom, insert him.
Yeah, fantastic. But we're talking about Senior Bowl. I want to tie this in. Jennings Dunker, the right tackle, sign me up. He looks like a Packer. He's a different type of offensive lineman that we haven't had. Man, he's played really well at the Senior Bowl. He's a plug and play to me. If he's there in round 2, the Dunker kid, I'm all in. If you can convert, we're gonna do our mock drafts, Jason. We got next week, I think on Thursday.
Yep.
We have a special guest in the War Room. We might be doing a mock draft 1.0, how to fix the Dolphins. But Dunker what do you think about him and the other kid you like out of Oregon? I mean, but Jennings Dunker. Yeah. But I'll tell you, Jennings Dunker out of he's nasty. And his play strength. I started with the offensive line. His nastiness and play strength jumps off tape. He's a right tackle. I'm telling you, this kid comes in. He's the type of lineman. Doesn't he look like a Packer? Sonny, the mullet and everything.
He does, though. He looks very Midwest, very, very Midwest kind of guy. Hopefully, it could be
some Midwest.
We need a little Midwest in us. So, my guy Pregron from Oregon, he's a guard. And I think that they need an interior. It did not work in free agency, obviously, with James Daniels, and you have scrap heap guys. I would draft the best kind of guard you can get. And honestly, to tell you the truth, it could be second, third round with those 3 third-round picks. You got to address the offensive line in one of those picks, and I wouldn't mind doubling up if they go, look, Mauagoa, Fano, are these guys going to be around at 11? I don't think so, to be quite honest with you. I'd be shocked.
I can make a case, Arnie, I'm getting into the linemen, not to cut you off. I can make a case of Fano over Moaga. They're real close for me. I'll be honest. I'm just going. They're very, very close.
I've seen Fano go at number 4, and then Mauagoa go at 10 or 12. I've seen some mock drafts where the Dolphins have gone elsewhere, and they're still one of them still on the board. I don't agree with that per se. I do think they're both top 10 picks. I think it would be extremely hard to not go with one of those guys if they're available, but it would be even harder to not get a top 80 pick addressing the offensive line. I cannot fathom that. And we'll see what they do, but I wouldn't mind doubling up. They had 8 picks, 6 of them in the top 111, got to really address it.
Let's hope Coach Weave gets a coaching job.
Right.
I think they're going to get sides everywhere. Also, look out for a bigger running back. They love to draft running. I think the average size, like they draft guys over 220 pounds in Green Bay. So that's something I look up. But I want to continue with the coaching hire. Boy, this made me feel old. Liddell Betts, running back coach, former running back coach, who's currently serving as the running back coach for the Jets. He had a 9-year playing career. He coached first at high schools in Florida, and spending 4 seasons coaching running backs at his alma mater at Iowa. But man, I remember that's like when I was starting getting the draft. I could really evaluate Liddell Betts in the early 2000s. Boy, I'm getting old. So he's replacing what's the running back coach name that's been here forever?
Studesville.
So finally, Studesville's out of here, huh? That's interesting.
I mean, look, you got everyone leaving pretty much. The only one really who's sticking around is Slowick, and it's kind of like a bump up, Butch Barry gone, following McDaniel. So it's a new mindset. It's a new regime. I'm all for it, really.
Yeah. And they think they just hired a quality control coach. I don't remember the name.
I didn't see that just yet.
I saw it. If anybody in the chat knows, they hired. Well, what do you know? Packers defensive quality control.
There you go.
Wendell Davis. That's per Aaron Wilson, who who's one of the best at breaking news. But so still waiting on the DC, Sarni. Look, to me, it's interesting. I don't know if they're waiting on Anthony Weaver to get if he's going to get a head coaching job or not. That's interesting. Look, they did keep Slowick, so they're not opposed to keeping some guys who were in the building last year. When do you expect a DC hire? I would expect it relatively soon, within the next week.
Yeah, it's got to be soon, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be someone who's going to be, like a top tier next kind of head coach. Remember, Hafley is calling the plays. He's your head coach, defensive coordinator, if you really want to kind of wrap it in that mold. So I would think it would be a Packer guy or someone from maybe Boston College roots or someone that he knows very personally to basically just be his deputy. I don't think it's going to be someone who's coming on in here to be like, all right, this is my show. I'm calling the plays. I'm calling the season. No, that's Hafley. Hafley is the defensive-minded head coach who's going to be scheming and calling. So, I hope it's a good lieutenant for him and someone who he has familiarity with.
I think it's still going to be Sean Duggan,
that's perfect.
Packers linebacker coach, and the Jaguars. Who was the guy with the Jaguars who coached Lekaboo? I think Tim Lekaboo, who coached.
I don't know if he got wrapped up anywhere, but that's some other guy to.
That's the name of the DC. But it looks like it'll be Duggan. I think it'll be wrapped up soon. I mean, they got every other seems like coaching position on the defensive side of the ball. But I want to wrap up here with some of the Senior Bowl guys, because I was watching today, and the Senior Bowl is a big deal. Some of the guys that impressed me in chat, shout out to the chat, anybody who has any guys they like. But I'm first of all, Taylor Green, you saw the big play to Malachi Field. You saw the good and bad of Taylor, but again, you saw what the lotto ticket is, the good, what he is, the size, the speed, the arm strength. You saw what if you hit. And again, I want to make it clear to people, it's a lower percentage, right? But again, if you get in the 4th, 5th round and you get a chance at this kind of guy, it's stuff we haven't done. So Taylor Green, I like what I saw. The other quarterbacks, Sawyer Robertson, the other guys, I didn't see anything that jumped out to me. I don't think it's a great Senior Bowl class for the quarterbacks. But I'll tell you a guy I think you're going to love, and because you love special, Jacob Rodriguez, the Texas Tech linebacker. Man, that Texas Tech defense. You mean a linebacker from Texas Tech? Yeah. What's not to love? Right. So we mentioned 4 Texas Tech guys: Bailey, Romello Height, Dave, Lee Hunter, who's going. By the way, Lee Hunter will be moving up in the draft, and he's a guy you'd be shocked he doesn't go higher than you think in the 1st round. But Jacob Rodriguez, undersized, 6'1", 233, maximizes every ounce of that frame. He plays with good technique. He plays with anticipation. He understands leverage. He understands timing. Again, you at the very least you get a special teamer. Does it remind you? I'm not saying he's act out, but he's a guy. And Travis, who we had on, mentioned, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if they would get Jordan Brooks a running mate. I don't know, but he's a guy I liked. TJ Parker, the edge. And it's kind of weird with TJ Parker because TJ Parker in 2024, he had a one game against the University of Pittsburgh where he showed you like, wow, this guy could be a top 10 pick. 25, they paid a little bit more attention, slowed down on him a little bit, but he's got great. He uses his hands great. You see him. We mentioned Lee Hunter and Ted Hurst. I'm telling you, Ted Hurst is a name to watch. Everybody go look up Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. But we mentioned Dunker. I'll tell you another guy who they talked to is Kalen Rutledge, the Georgia Tech. You're going to love this, Arnie. Champion shot putter and 1,000-point, 1,000 rebound basketball player, Arnie.
I'm going to give you another one.
Here we go.
Another basketball player with footwork on right tackle, Max Ahanichor from Arizona State.
Not yesterday. He didn't look. Today he rebounded.
I'm glad he did because this is a 6'6" dude who's got athleticism, footwork from his basketball days. And I'll tell you right now, he could be someone who literally just says, all right, bye-bye, Austin Jackson, or even maybe kick Austin Jackson to the guard spot if whatever.
Let's maybe stick to bye-bye Austin Jackson.
Yeah, we can stick to bye-bye. I'll be fine by that. But Max is a guy that I think would be a phenomenal third-round draft pick, like home run potential in the third round.
He might even go in the second, but yeah, he's there in the third.
100%. But if they can get lucky enough, look, if they want to trade back, this is just someone said it. I'm not taking it from myself, but someone said it in the chat that this is a excellent trade back draft, and I'm all for loading picks up. And if Sully really wants to make a mark, if he trades back, still gets great guys at value from the 10, 15 slots he moves back, gets one or two more picks during that process, and just fills out this roster with, third, fourth, fifth round depth pieces that they're going to, this was my favorite, draft and develop. Yes. That was my favorite quote from what Sully said. This whole process is draft and develop.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you can see it from Travis's face how he believes in this. It's genuine.
Yeah. And he's not going to beat around the bush. I mean, he told us things that he didn't like about certain things. I mean, I don't think he's going to pass Devontae Parker in South Florida anytime and say hello, but he'll tell it as it is.
Yeah, a couple other guys I liked. I mentioned with Malachi Fields. You mentioned Derek Moore. This guy can convert speed to power on tape, and he did it against poor guy Malachi Bell. I don't know if you saw it starting the 6'9" tackle. Remember last year when Josh Connolly got pancaked? It basically happened again.
He got nailed.
I know you were at work today.
I saw that. He got everyone saw that.
Yeah. Him and you like a corner, especially who looked pretty good today. Chris Johnson. Talk about why you like Chris.
I like him. He's a heck of a ball hawk, pass defensive, pass breakup kind of guy. I think I like his speed, and I like the fact that you could address other positions and maybe see him hanging around in the second round. So, this is a guy, look, Senior Bowl practice, you could have bad day, bad rep, good rep. So there's a lot of this process left. And I wasn't going to mention him, but I see Green Machine 1170. I think he's enticing me to talk a little bit, my guy.
Go for it. Hey, if you hit on this, Sarny, I'm gonna give you the first 15 minutes of the show. If this guy hits,
I'm reading what everyone's saying, and I'm not in disagreement. Where an 11th overall pick for a non-pass rushing edge might be a little too early. There's a twofold coming up here response on that. This guy is not your traditional Chop Robinson kind of speed edge rusher. Player. He's such a different player. He's he'll be 21 in September. He's 6'6". He's got freaking a 7-foot wingspan with his arms. This is a quality football kid. And Travis mentioned guys who were sticking with programs. He's stuck with Auburn. Look at what his teammate has done. If you want to look at production, he could be a guy that could help his teammates get the almighty statistical sack. But I would think that this is a guy that here's the other fold of the response here. If Sully wants to trade back to like 18, 20, and this kid is there, I don't know that he gets by the Cowboys at 12 even, but if he wants to trade back and he could end up with either one of those corners in the first round or Falk, or even, maybe Sonny Styles falls into the late teens. That would be phenomenal. So I will say this. If Sully trades back to like 15 to 20, gets like a third and a fourth, or gets a second and a fifth, whatever that math may work out to be, and ends up with Falk, I'm gonna do a little jig or something, but you'll definitely want to splice that.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on a short.
Yeah, you'll put that on a short for sure.
No,
I'm not a good dancer.
Yeah. Josh Cameron, another guy, like, he's catching everything. He's got vice grips for hands. I agree, Green Machine. He says Bain and Downs are my two run-up-the-card guys.
If they're there, for sure, 100% Green Machine.
100%. Oh, Malachi Lemon is a guy who he's interesting. I know.
Great. He's phenomenal.
The problem is you look
5'10".
He's
5'11" with cleats.
His tape is phenomenal.
I know.
He's such a smooth route runner. He's good. He's got that Jackson Smith and the Jigba kind of thing going. I like him a lot. I'm down. Sully needs to consult Jason. This guy knows. I'm down. Sully need to consult Jason. This guy knows a thing of the. Why do you think he's the co-host and the co-pilot of the Finn's Faithful podcast? Because he knows as much as I do, if not more. So that's
George, you're the X's and O guy, and I'm the people person.
The people person.
I'm the people person.
So another guy, Caleb Banks, 330-pound defensive tackle out of Florida, really showed up today. People were expecting it. He's a guy who can move for his size. But I'll tell you, as I'm starting to get into this draft class more and more, I love this wide receiver class. Like, there's a wide receiver class every year, but I'm really, really – if you can get the Tennessee wide receiver, Chris Brazil, in round 2, I think he's going to be in the end of round 1, though. Like, Malachi Fields, I share Travis' sentiment. Sometimes on film, he troubles to snap the end of that route and kind of, turn his hips and separate. That's the question. It's like, is it Keon Coleman, right? That was the issue with Keon Coleman. And I like Keon Coleman coming out, but Malachi Fields is a guy. I'm trying to – Derek White, and then the other guy is Gabe Jackus, the Illinois.
From Illinois. I literally was about to talk to him. He was a guy that I drafted last year, and he decided to stay in school, and he ended up getting 3 more sacks this year. So if you want – Dolphins could double up on edge. If Dolphins go Keldrick Falk in round 1, and then, in that third-round area, they want to double up. They want to go Jackus, kid out of Penn State. It could be an option too. DDS, that's definitely an option there. So there's a number of edges in this draft. Danny Dennis Sutton, 100%.
Yeah, Jacob Robinson. It's not my Schwarzenegger. He's not at that level. Okay, this is a different type. But this guy is. Let's just shoot for the Texas Tech linebacker.
He's moving up. I mean, he was mock drafted in like the 4th or 5th round a week ago. He's a third-round guy now.
Well, last year he was like an undrafted guy. It's crazy, So Zan Durant is another guy, the Penn State defensive lineman. There's a bunch of guys. I mean, again, the Texas Tech defense must have been pretty good. I like this safety group a lot. Travis mentioned a couple guys. The safety group in Green Bay draft safeties, and they don't draft safeties who run slower than 4.47. So keep that in mind when you guys are looking at the combine. Now, it doesn't mean here's when you're watching the combine. It doesn't mean that these numbers are going to significantly change things, but it's going to tell you these are the guys they're going to look at because they do have a type as far as numbers of short shuttle on cornerbacks, 3-cone drill. These kind of things matter. They not analytics, but they believe in the thing that they do there, numbers that they believe in. I guess they say they research it and say this works, this doesn't work. So those guys. Anybody else from the Senior Bowl, Jason?
I see a question. Any thoughts on Bryce Lance? Look, I love my basketball comps. I mean, this is like a 6'3", 6'4" guy. He's got like a 40-inch vertical. If you want someone who could contest those 50-50 balls, Bryce Lance is a guy, 3rd, 4th round potential. Small school, North Dakota State University, of course. But
quarterback,
he's on the radar for sure. He's probably after that like first 5 or 6 tall receivers, your Jacoby Lanes, your Brazils, those kind of guys.
There's he's your typical outside X receiver. I mean,
X, 100%.
Yeah, they get lost. You know what I mean? There's so many good big receivers in this draft that a Bryce Lane you forget about. Like, we have three third round. That's where I want to hit the quarterback.
Yeah.
Any of these quarterbacks? Did you see the Senior Bowl stuff on the quarterbacks? I know you didn't get to see much.
Not a ton on the quarterbacks. I mean, I'm a guy this year that's saying if a quarterback falls on late day 2, early day 3, I'm all for it. But those first 5, 6 picks to me are team building positional players. Get this roster loaded. So Quinn Ewers could have an easier time. The overall defense can improve. Get Quinn or whoever the quarterback is that they sign, because they're going to sign someone in free agency, whether it's Malik Willis or someone else.
Travis loves Malik. You can see what Travis talked about Malik. I also was a big fan.
But he did mention there was going to be some frugal aspects to it. So you got to hope that there's.
They have to be. I'm pounding the table for my AR trade. You know what I mean? That's
if they could free up, if it could work, I'm not against that.
I'll send a fourth. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Especially if we get. Do we know when are the compensatory picks come out? I saw
That's a good question.
Yeah, are we getting a fourth or fifth?
I don't know. This formula is crazy. I'm not exactly sure on what exact comp picks we're gonna get at this moment. Not exactly sure.
The last thing I want to talk about is Daniel Jeremiah's mock, because I was looking through it. He's got Fanu going number 3, Moaga going 4. So that's what I love to do. After I go to a certain position, I want to see, and I'm right there. I'm like 50-50 on who's the better guy. Your guy Delaney going 5th, and then Bailey going 6th, and then they have us taking Caleb Downs. But I'm going to tell you, I think the interesting question, and we should save this all stuff for the war room, but we're just Senior Bowl stuff's in my head. Jermon McCoy. The injury stuff he's interesting that they consider him at 11.
The only reason that there's trepidation there is the injury. I mean, if you look at what he did last year, 2024, he's phenomenal. Tennessee is also one of I think the Dolphins as a franchise have had the most draft picks out of Tennessee of any other school, believe that or not. But you can't. I don't know that you could start off your first pick as a general manager with a red flag injury. People are going to have, I've seen the phrase nightmare fuel for certain picks, and an injured player right off the bat can be a recipe for that nightmare fuel. So you got to think of a no-brainer at 11. And I know that puts my guy Falk at a little bit of that.
Well, to me, honestly, I'm not as high on your guy Falk. I like him. I like him. I honestly think his move is Calais Campbell move inside.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say, too.
And if you look at him like that,
yes,
boy, the ceiling just goes to the roof.
You can't. I mean, again, that's like, do you spend an 11th overall pick on that? But high character, young. And this is not, he mentioned Travis with the Raiders that the Ashton Genty pick was a win now pick. I'm not saying you don't want to win now, but this is a developmental potential draft to get young kids. And if you're going to get a young 21-year-old at time of season start, to know that you can get a 5th round option for him when he's about to turn 26, 25-year-old kid, that's who you want to draft and develop. And to me, a young line interior wise with a guy like Falk, Jordan Phillips, that could open lanes up and open the outside up for a guy like Chop Robinson to really get the potential of the amount of sacks that he's capable of getting.
Look, we'll see what they do in free agency in this offseason outlook. We'll see kind of what they do. They're going to be up against it. Tyreek will help you a little bit. There's going to be dead money. Either if you trade Tua or you release him, you're still going to have to eat dead money. Thing is, if you trade him, maybe you eat some of the salary, you get something back. I want AR and maybe send a pick there. So that'll be interesting what they do. But, the one thing, and we'll kind of end it on this, the one thing I thought was interesting, the way he said, the way they address free agency. He likes to go after it. Did you find that a little surprising what he said about the quote? So I don't know if that'll be this year, but we had our last show, excuse me, when we talked about Malik Willis, we had Jacob Westendorf on. He says, look, his prediction, Malik Willis and the linebacker. He said Jeff Hafley loves. So we talk about they can't be active, but maybe they move things around. They got Brandon Shores, the money guy, and they're able to get a couple guys.
A lot of work financially has to be done. A lot of crunching. A lot of other moves might have to come before those moves to free up the money. And look, you can never underestimate the power of a guy like a Sullivan attracting people from his old organization, convincing or selling them to come to Miami, maybe take an initial overall pay cut. But when you put all the dollars and cents together, we all laugh about the no income tax. But listen, if you're talking millions of dollars here, signing a $9 million contract per year versus $11 million somewhere else, after all the math, it still could be worth it for that player to take a pay cut to come play for the Dolphins in Miami. But we'll see. I think there's going to be maybe one or two nice swings. But Travis said those kind of middle tier, those kind of lesser, maybe second, third, fourth tier guys to fill out the roster in free agency. The frugal approach, I think, will be there, but maybe one or two nice little pieces.
Jose says, any thoughts on Jay? You talking about the Kentucky guard? Yeah, he's more of a day 3 pick, mean guy, big guy, not the quickest guy ladder. Yeah, he's somebody you look at, 5th, 6th, 7th round. He's somebody that they would look at. Jeanette says, I want a quarterback for the Dolphins. You'll get your wish. There'll be another quarterback. We think it might be Malik Willis or through the draft, but I'm pretty confident that they're not going to waste their bullets on a top 2 round quarterback in this draft. They'll take one in the middle rounds or late day 2, or day 3, and then next year, I think, depending on what happens. Again, you sign. Let's say you might not be able to sign Malik Willis. You might be rolling with Quinn Ewers and a 3rd or 4th round pick this year, and you're trying to set up, not tanking, but you're trying to set up for this 27 draft. So you don't know. Malik Willis might not be able to come here. If he does, great. And if you're able to, like we said the last show, find a guy in Malik Willis who he's more than a bridge. You found your quarterback, and you're not paying him a ton of money yet, and you didn't give up premium draft capital. So Finn Sam, what's up, Sammy? He says Hafley is rating the Packers coach. Yeah, we're the Miami Packers. That's why we had Jacob Westendorf on, because we're basically the Miami Packers, and I think it's going to continue with Sean Duggan. And so he had a question about Tyrese, the Florida DN. Haven't got into
against the run. He's a run defender. Yeah. He's a small. I haven't got a ton into him, to be honest, but he's a lighter, smaller version of what Keldrick Falk is, but 2 rounds later. You know what I mean? But we're not talking 6'6", prototypical size and arms. You're talking like 6'3", not a very good get off, for pass rushing. He only had 1 or 2 sacks last year, but a very good run defender. So if you move him inside, but you wait till day 2, that could be an option right there. But he's not a guy that's going to get.
He's a power guy.
12. So he's right, but he's not a guy who's going to generate tons of sacks for you. So don't look at that statistic when you're looking. I mean, Florida kid, Gator. So sure,
he's more of a day 3 guy for me.
Yeah, I would say.
I haven't gotten a ton into him yet, to be honest. But yeah, so I think we'll end it there. Jason, we went 1 hour and 7 minutes. Man, thank you so much to Travis Wingfield for joining us. He was fantastic, and I just want to say Travis has really earned where he's at. He's done a fantastic job in that organization, and we appreciate him coming on, and we'd love to have him on again. Chat, thank you so much. You guys the chat doesn't realize how much they help the show. We appreciate it so much. We had the poll question running up. Guys, after the show, flood the comments, and also, make sure, I know I repeated, the thumbs up, the likes, and a subscription is not. Trust me, we don't make money. We don't do this for money. We do this to build the show and build you guys and get more reach to Dolphin fans. So please hit that thumbs up, hit that little bell and subscription. It helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. Green Machine, almost definitely Sean Duggan from Green Bay, previously at BC and Ohio State. Hafley wants somebody to run things during his offseason while he focuses on the defense. Absolutely.
100%.
It's time to rebuild. Magic. Kenny, thank you. Great show, lads.
Thank you.
Kenny won Kenny, you won the Fantasy Football League. I got to get the trophy out to you. I'm going to make that. Yeah. Congratulations, Kenny. So next year, Sonny, next year. Thank you guys. Awesome show. We appreciate it, guys. Everybody in the
Thank
chat
you all.
again, we appreciate Travis. For Travis Wingfield, we can't think
Real,
of enough
real
for
quick,
joining.
just thank you to
Yeah.
Travis. Travis
Yes.
was, I've known Travis for a long time, and over the last like 6 or 7 years, he's been, you know, a tremendous friend. He's helped me a lot in this hobby / business / whatever you want to call it from my side of things. But Travis, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yes, I appreciate it. It was my first time meeting Travis, and it was everything you said was true about him. Great individual, great human, and very genuine, you could tell. So we appreciate it. He does a great job with the Miami Dolphins. So we want to thank everybody from Travis Wingfield to Jason Sarney to myself. Guys, leave some comments in the video below. Tell us what you thought. Are you guys optimistic about this new regime as much as we are and Travis Wingfield is? So take care until next time. We'll see you soon. Make sure you subscribe and have the notifications on. Follow us on social media so you can know when next time we're going live. We have a bunch of great content coming up. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Have a safe night. And everybody, stay Fins faithful. We are